Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Is it darker? Are we?
No, it's that screen.
Oh, okay.
I have the brightness turned all the way down on that thing.
Oh, okay. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Friday Bean. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. Consider subscribing. What are you doing? Why are you even here if you're not going to subscribe?
Subscribe.
You gotta subscribe. We're the cool YouTubers. We're the ones who give you the truth. And the truth today is that this is a topic that I didn't want to cover.
But it's our most requested topic, so we're doing it.
You guys have been asking forever for us to cover this, and I feel like it's more relevant now than ever because it's actually happening, whereas in the past it wasn't happening, but now it is happening. So today we're going to talk about tariffs. Rules, though, are to be nice, be kind. Don't give us a reason to ban you from our channel or block you from the chat or, give you the boot.
We have tried our best to remain entirely factual. We've sourced everything with the most recent news we can find. This is quite a heavy, deep subject with a lot of research required in order to get the correct, accurate information. And this stuff changes day to day. So if any of this information is wrong, it was right yesterday.
Yeah, and we've done our very, very best. Again, the issue is, and a lot of people have said this in our comments, business is politics. We do our best to keep the politics out of it, but unfortunately, sometimes they clash, and we got to talk about it because you guys need the good information. So we're going to do our best to present that to you today. I do hope that it is helpful and that it helps to clarify some things. We do not have all of the answers. So when we pivot, after the primary presentation and we start discussing or letting you guys ask questions, we're probably not going to be able to answer very many questions. If your questions are very, very basic and they are in the realm of the things, just trying to understand what we've presented, we might be able to elaborate on some of those things. But for the most part, all we can do is report on the news in which we have read the same way that you could go and read it yourself, but we've put it into a format that is hopefully in what I call plain stinking English, because a lot of times when you're trying to follow these things on news sites and stuff, it's hard to understand how it actually applies to you, because unfortunately the news and all the news sites, that report on things like this, they're not really thinking of little guys like us. They're thinking of, the consumer side, but when it comes to the business side, it gets harder. Go ahead and share the screen so that I can get through our announcements before we begin. And so today we are sailing the murky seas of tariffs. But before we get into all that, this animation, I swear, do you guys like when I do animations? Let me know. Before we get into all that, please remember that this September 25th, I'm back, baby, at Amplified 2025, hosted by Parentify, and I've got free tickets down below. We are having a friendly competition among all of the influencers who are speaking. I will not be flying to Latvia this year. I am still recovering from the pneumonia that I got last year when I went, so I'll be speaking virtually. The other influencers that you see are probably going to be there in person. However, wouldn't it still be cool if we sent the most people to sign up? Since I'm not flying, there's no competition for me to win first class tickets like there was last year, which I, blew the other influencers out of the water. But it would be really helpful if you guys signed up for that. Not to mention, I and Talish here, we're going to be talking about trends. So that's relevant even if you don't sell POD. There's also going to be a ton of giveaways and free stuff. I'm going to be giving some stuff away. So even if you don't sell POD or if you're curious about it, come hang out. The tickets are down below in the video description. And hey, come donate to our charity for the summer, which is Save a Fox. If you guys have been following the news about the influencer who took her own life from Save a Fox Rescue, they are actually really struggling because she was the lifeblood of their entire organization. So without her, they are very lost. They are a great cause, though. So if you're enjoying the live stream or if you appreciate what we do here, hey, rather than, doing super chat or giving money to us, we would much rather see that money go to a good cause. And you guys know that we love animals more than anything in this world. So consider donating. All right, Mr. Moore, I'm going to hand the floor to you.
Oh, yeah, let's try to keep one-sided political attacks out of the comments. Nobody has done it yet, but it's easy because, I mean, let's be real, this is a one-sided political situation.
Science and snark. I may have to remove myself from the chat. We understand.
We understand.
It's very frustrating.
For the record, we are not right-leaning or left-leaning. We're not going to identify to a political party to our audience. However, we do not believe in far extremes of either side. So let's try to keep far extremes out of the chat just to be nice and, polite to everybody. Some people have opinions based on their upbringings and whatnot. We don't want to offend anybody.
The center is always, when you can't make a decision, the center is usually the best place to be, right? Everybody has good ideas. Sometimes there's just poor execution.
Yes, far extremes on both sides can be explained scientifically, and there's a lot of research into it, and yeah, try to be as centrist as you can be.
Coke rules, Pepsi sucks. Hey, Miranda, I agree.
And 13-year-old me would have disagreed. People can change their minds.
That's true.
All right. What are tariffs? Tariffs are taxes on any imported goods, specifically just from countries with tariffs. We'll talk more about that. Typically a percentage of the item's value, not right now, but 6 months from now, it will be on the item's value imposed on the buyer, not the company selling it to you, but the buyer, by a government to help regulate trade in and out.
Yeah, and this is where I think a lot of the misconception has been. Again, not getting political, but I believe that a lot of the confusion right now is due to
lies.
The current administration saying that the other countries are going to pay the US some tariffs
by definition,
and it's gonna fix our economy. That's not what a tariff is.
No. By definition, tariffs are charged to the buyer. So if you are, let's say you are a company that makes steel tables for workshops. You buy steel from China. You, as the company, are going to pay the tariff on the import from China, not the other way around. Now, technically, companies on the other side could pay the tariffs. However, no time in any point in history has a company said, I'll absorb these costs and lower my profits. No, they're going to pass it on to the consumer, which is exactly what's happening. This isn't us being political. This is how it works. At any point, if there's a tariff coming through, it ends up all the way down the chain. It's a trickle-down system. So the importer's going to pay it. The customer of the product, every person in that chain is going to pay an increased price at the end of the day. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, they only apply to physical goods. If it passes a point of entry in the United States, so a physical package, customs, is handed to them. Now, this gets a little different not really, for third-party shippers. But only physical products. As of right now, obviously rules can be changed, and these people like to change a lot of rules. Services and online purchases for digital products are not handled that way. Now, if you buy a digital product and it's shipped over on an SD card or whatever, you're gonna pay a tariff on it. But you don't pay it on services or digital products.
So digital sellers, y'all are good.
Y'all are solid. As of right now.
But still stick around because you might buy stuff from other countries.
Yes. So, as of the end of this month, August 29th, every package under $800 will now pay the tax if it is in a country that has the tariff tax. Many countries are already subject to this. So 10 to 50%, depending on where you live. We have a chart we're going to pull up. It's not all inclusive. There's 1,000,001 going on with this. If you're a U.S. seller shipping domestically, the tariffs won't apply to your outbound order. So U.S. to U.S., you don't pay those tariffs. Now, if you do buy, the last point here, if you do buy products from a country with a tariff in order to run your business, you are going to pay that. And if your supplier buys their stuff, eventually, at some point in the chain, you are going to be the one paying that. It's going to go down. And as I explained in prior videos, we're already seeing this. It's not just going to be like, oh, there's a 10% tariff, you're going to pay 10% more. No, let's assume that there's two people in your supply chain. If the person buying from China is paying 10% more, they're going to charge their customer 12% more. So then they're going to charge you 15% more. They're going to use this as an opportunity to make small increases in profits. We're already seeing it. It's already happening. It sucks, but that's the truth of it. If you need to raise your prices 10%, companies are going to raise their prices 20%. That's just how this works.
We all saw it during COVID with the shrinkflation where like, you're paying the same amount for a bag of chips, but you notice you get 5 less chips. It's little itty bitty ways that companies make just a little more money.
Who ends up with the money made from the tariffs? The government.
The
government. They are the ones charging you. It is a tax. It is a tax on imported goods, basically. Okay, so right now with China, they have a 30% tariff. So if you buy, let's say 100 with tax and everything included, you normally pay $100. As of, I forget the date, it was in May, you'd now pay $130. So the 90-day truce was extended on the increase to November 11th. And if it doesn't get extended again, it's not 100% decided where that's going to end up. But as of right now, the high estimates are somewhere around 145%. So you'll end up paying $245 for something that you used to pay $100 on. And this applies to every country with tariffs. And we're going to have the country chart to kind of give you percentages. We're not going to dive deep on that because it literally changes by the day. And there are so many sub factors into that determine what you actually pay. So we'll get more into that in a little bit. So if you don't know how U.S. Customs works, they bring in packages. And as of right now, I forget what the percentage is. It's a very low percentage. They open a certain percentage of the packages, check them for drugs and whatnot, and then they move them on. Well, as a part of this process, as they scan them, determine what country they come from, and then they'll pass on a note, basically, with the postal service that's delivering it, whether that's UPS, mail, whatever. And when the customer receives the product, if the tariff was not paid ahead of time, they will pay it on arrival. I've already done this more than once where they've been like, we can't, they'll bring the thing up to your door and you have to swipe your credit card and pay. You will not receive it until you pay it. The only exception, FedEx, I don't know if it's going to stay this way, but I've received packages where they've then sent me a letter or called me before they'll even send somebody out to deliver it. So it just depends on how more expensive the product is. For the first 6 months of this, starting on August 7th, I believe, I don't know, have the exact packages that come through USPS, mail specifically, will not have a percentage base tariff. It'll depend on, and I don't know the exact amounts. This is really easy information to find. You'll pay a flat fee, either $80, $160, or $200, depending on the price of the package. And then after 6 months, the mail service will adopt a percentage-based system. However, if you're shipping through DHL, UPS, FedEx, whatever, to the United States, those will already have the percentage tariff because it's not on the USPS to develop, it's on them to develop the system. So they'll already be paying a price-based system. Okay, again, it depends on where you're shipping from as far as what you're actually going to pay. Low tariff countries pay less, high tariff countries pay more. That's pretty obvious. So after 6 months, all of the packages will have fees based on their values, and the old $800 no fee rule is gone. So
yes,
before we called this de minimis, we'll talk about that. And before $800 or less, you did not pay a tariff on regardless. Private couriers must be processed with formal customs entries like always. And again, they're going to pay their full tariff classification. So here is a rough, very rough, the most popular-ish countries that are going to be paying this. So Brazil, 50, Canada, 35, India, 25, until August 27th, because politics, they bought oil from Russia. So Trump is punishing them by adding another 25% onto their tariff on August 27th. I know Indian sellers cannot join Etsy anymore. However, there are still sellers on Etsy who are grandfathered in. They will be subject to these tariffs. Taiwan, EU, both pay 20%, Japan 24%, Korea 25%, Australia after October 1st will be, and I've already received emails. There's a couple companies, this company that I order my shirts from, they're in Australia. They'll be charging a 50% tariff. They'll be charging it up front So you don't have to worry about that. A lot of websites are going to charge it up front. As of right now, it doesn't look like Etsy's going to do that, but that could change. We'll see. UK 20, Vietnam 46, Cambodia 49, Bangladesh 37, EU 20%, and China 30%. These are rough breakdowns because, within the UK and EU, there are small factors that determine ups and downs when it comes to this, but these are averages across the board. Yeah. Australia is 50%. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't follow it closely for other people, but this is how it is. Okay, de minimis. So before we had $800 and under, you did not have to pay a tariff. Trump signed an executive order on July 30th. This wasn't Congress. This was Trump directly. On July 30th, that all shipments coming to the U.S. from tariff countries, regardless of their value, origin, or their carrier, will now incur import duties starting on August 29th. This administration really likes to push things out, so there's a chance this could get a grace window, but unlike China, I kind of doubt that's going to happen. It sucks, but it is what it is. And there's a lot of information about gifting. Don't get this misconstrued. A lot of people say, oh, well, gifts under $100 or like personal couriers under $200. Don't mark it as a gift. That's actually a crime, and you'll probably get fined for that. It's gifts that are exchanged, not purchased. So like
friends.
If you have a friend, let's say Amber Marie were to send us, under $100 worth of goods, chocolates, whatever. No, because she purchased that. That would count as it would have to be something that no, I guess it's because she's sending it.
Yeah.
Anyway, even gifts over that $100 mark are going to be subject to tariffs. So it sucks, but it is what it is. Tax the already taxed, right? Okay, POD. I know we're going to have a lot of questions about POD. So we're looking into Printify and Printful. Those are the two big ones. As of right now, on their actual tariff page, they are going to try to not raise prices to accommodate the tariffs. They're going to absorb that cost. So thank you, Printify/Printful. However, depending on how the tariffs go, if they continue to skyrocket, their distributors continue to skyrocket, they're not going to be able to continue absorbing those costs forever.
Yeah, this is as of right now, but highly subject to change.
Yeah, we don't speak on behalf. I know we do a lot of stuff with Printify. We are not Printify employees. We are not endorsed by Printify. We don't know what they're going to do. They're great people. So I would suspect that they're going to do this as long as they physically can until their bottom end starts to really take a hit. It looks good to do something like this. They're doing the right thing. They're not making their customers bend the knee to tariffs they shouldn't have to pay. So hopefully it stays this way. But again, with POD, right now, your prices should remain the same.
Yeah, it's going to, obviously, the countries like products printed in China and things like that are probably going to get hit the hardest in the long run. So just make sure that you're keeping a really close eye on your production partners. With Printify, it's pretty easy because you can go right in and just look at where the country of origin for all of your products are. You'll be able to closely monitor the costs. This gets harder if you are using like a million different production partners and you got to go in and check them all. But, it's definitely worth it just over the next few weeks as we get into the thick of these updates to make sure that you're going in and staying up to date. Printify is also really, really good about sending out emails when they have updates. The article where we source this information was written, at the beginning of last month. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, it's not as up to date as we would like, but they haven't announced anything different. So this is all we know so far.
Yep. Okay. So for US sellers specifically, what can you do? Make sure you check out your supply chain. If your supplies come from a country that have tariffs, keep in mind you're probably going to pay increased prices, and you're going to need to either look for lower tariff alternatives, look for domestic purchases, which again, it's usually going to be more expensive, and a lot of domestic people, they get their stuff from the same people you do. Prepare a pricing buffer, build that margin into your prices to absorb the tariff related costs. The price of everything is going up because of tariffs. More than likely, if you don't want to lose your profits, you're going to have to increase your prices. Don't do what corporate companies are going to do and take advantage of your customers by raising them above the percentage. Just raise them to accommodate the tariffs you're having to pay. If you want to, you don't have to, but excuse me. And then keep yourself informed, follow the news. do yourself a favor and just try to read whatever centrist-based news you can about this stuff. Both sides are taking far extremes with this. Both sides are almost always wrong with how this works. Tariffs are a cost on you. That's just how it is. So for international sellers, I feel like there was one that we were supposed to take out of here, but we didn't.
No.
Know your country's tariff rate. Your customer's going to be paying that tariff regardless of whether or not you want them to. It sucks, but they're going to, and they're not going to receive their product unless they do.
Yeah, if we didn't show your specific country, and even if we did, make sure that you go and, just Google it. Google it and see what your tariff rate is going to be so that you know what to expect.
Yes. And keep up on it, because it's like an almost daily basis that these things change. I know that there's a question about reciprocal tariffs. We're going to get into that a little bit. Decide whether or not you're going to ship directly through Etsy, like printing your labels through Etsy. As of right now, unless I'm wrong, we tried to find out best we could. We don't sell from the UK, so we don't know, or from anywhere else. Most likely they can't prepay. Let us know if we're wrong about that. I can't check that because, again, we don't sell from outside the United States. They're going to have to pay that duty on arrival if you ship through Etsy directly.
Which, that could tick customers off if they're unaware of it, if they don't realize that they're going to have to swipe their credit card before they get their package. So I am a little nervous, and I'm hoping that Etsy says something soon about how they plan to handle negative reviews, similar to...
Yeah, they're going to have to.
Well,
This is going to be a huge problem.
It's similar to during the holiday season, if you get a bad review due to standard holiday shipping clog-ups, that Etsy will consider removing those.
I have a feeling... And avoiding like attacking anybody politically, I have a feeling that these are going to kick in and people are going to realize that they've been lied to about how these tariffs work, because and all politics aside, on our end, the administration has been lying to the people blank-facedly. It's just a fact. Tariffs are a charge on the customer, not on the company selling. And the right lies about it, the left lies about it, but the right is the one doing it. So I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to start getting hit with these tariffs, and they're going to realize real fast, oh, this sucks. And just like everything else, they're going to back off a little bit, but we'll see.
Amber said that they cannot prepay in the UK.
No, not on that. However, you should be able to. Again, this would have to be prearranged, so it's a little more difficult. Shipping through a third-party provider, not through Etsy, that allows you to do prepaid. And whether you do that, having your customer pay it, which you should do, or you pay it, you should never do. That's up to you, but that can be prepaid, and it's a lot less surprises. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to not pay attention to this and not make sure you're communicating with your US customers. If you are in a tariff country, that they are going to have know your percentage. Use it. I'm sure there are online calculators for this. Make sure you message these customers and say, this is the duty you're going to have to pay for this. Allow them to refund. I would get messages out to tariff customers immediately. That way they have the ability to refund before you have to ship a product.
Right. Because it's literally better than a bad review has the potential to, it kills your listing quality score, but it also kills your customer and marketplace experience score, which is going to help you to rank on Etsy. So, getting a couple bad reviews is not a big deal. However, if you make frequent US sales and you're repeatedly getting bad reviews, it's not worth tanking your entire shop over just because somebody didn't understand it because they're not watching the news. You know what I mean? So informing them and then issuing a refund if necessary is better than them getting charged and thinking that it's something that you did.
Yes. So, and again, we're trying to stick to facts here. If you're mad at us because of whatever XYZ, this is a fact. So eat butt.
We doing what we can.
Adjust your pricing if needed. Again, if you're in a tariff country and you want to increase, or if you're in the United States, adjust your prices. If you're in another country and you want to adjust your prices to accommodate this, you're welcome to. Communicate with your buyers. Again, please message your buyers immediately with what the dues they're going to be due with. It sucks to do that, but it's the political game that we're having to play right now. And again, stay on top of policy changes. If you are behind and you're not warning your customers appropriately, the only person you can blame is yourself. I hate having to say that as someone in the US. I'm sorry that this is happening to everybody, but we'll play cards as we get them. Okay, so we'll go ahead and shout out Or we'll get into some questions because I know there's a truckload of questions that we have up here. Please consider donating to our Save a Fox Foundation charity for the summer. They really need the help. They had probably one of their best handlers, unfortunately, take her own life, and they need help. So if you guys have the money, please don't donate to us. Donate to our charity. You can find it down below the video. They definitely need the help. And
hey, I'm speaking at Amplified again, baby. I'm not flying out to Riga this year, unfortunately, because I have not even recovered from my first trip to Riga. However, I will be speaking virtually, and me and all these other influencers are having a bit of a competition to see who can send the most people to sign up. So I've got free tickets listed down below in the video description. A lot of these influencers are way bigger than me, and you know, they're all big fancy influencers, so it's kind of fun that last year you guys stomped. You guys did fantastic in terms of signups, and I ended up sending the most people. So let's see if we can do it again, because it feeds my ego. Plus, you know, it's going to be a really great event. There's going to be giveaways. I'm giving some stuff away, and even if you don't sell POD, there's going to be lots of great information. I'm talking about trends, and trends are applicable no matter what you sell. So, all right. I think that is it for slides. We should be good.
We should be good. Now, here's the thing. So a lot of people were asking about reciprocal tariffs, which is basically the countries that we are tariffing are going to do it in retaliation back against us, because that is the appropriate thing to do. If they're taking money in, they should be taking money in, right? I don't know why I went to Facebook. That's not what I meant to do. Reciprocal tariff chart. Okay. Okay, this is ours. Okay, basically, this is a very difficult question to answer. And this is something that a lot of people are going to have to do their own individual research on, because if I were to sit and try to cover every country that's retaliating with reciprocal tariffs, a presentation would be 10 hours long. I mean, really, if you're shipping from the US to another country, which should make up a very small percentage of most of your customers, 75% of Etsy customers are in the US, you're just going to need to Google, does XYZ country have a reciprocal tariff? Find what that percentage is and make them aware that they're probably going to have to pay a duty. It sucks, but that's the answer to the question. And somebody asked, if you're in China, do you ship to a non-UF country? No. Tariffs, well, I mean, possibly. I don't know what other countries have tariffs on China. I can't really answer that question for you. However, you will not be charged a US tariff if you ship from China to like Britain.
Yeah,
it has to cross the US border in order for you to be charged for a tariff.
Yeah, basically.
And you wouldn't be charged a tariff, your customer would be charged a tariff.
The idea is that the US is trying to promote more trade within the US. Like they want to keep money within the US, and they're trying to encourage shoppers to shop with local, US companies and keep, bring money into the US and keep money in the US, right? But the issue is that no matter what, you might think that shopping from the Amish furniture store down the street, that you are, that you're shopping local, or, your favorite crafter, you might be shopping with them and you think you're shopping local. But supplies got to come from somewhere. And there are so many supplies that there's no choice. There's no choice but to get, maybe that Amish furniture store, maybe the nails that they use, they have to get those from China, because isn't steel primarily, doesn't that primarily come from China? Steel? Or
I believe most fine metals come from outside of the United States.
Right. So
or most expensive metals.
So it's all of these little indirect impacts where it sounds, when you hear it, it sounds like a good idea. It's like, oh, okay, keeping money in the US because it's encouraging people to shop within the US. Like, it sounds like it makes sense, but then when you really start breaking down like how many diverse supplies are needed to keep businesses afloat, and where, you might be buying those supplies with a US company, but that doesn't mean that US company is the ones who are making those supplies or sourcing the raw materials to make those supplies. So they're going to inflate their prices because, wherever they got those things from. See,
the thing is, at the end of the day, it's a hard truth time. Hard truth time. This administration still, to this day, gets up almost every day in front of a crowd of people and says that foreign countries are paying tariffs and bringing money into the United States. That is a bold-faced, 100% unequivocal, incontrovertible lie. That's not how tariffs work. Google is free. That's not how tariffs work. This is not a political attack on one party or another. That is a lie.
Right. You guys can Google it.
You can Google how tariffs work. You pay it. Your product producers pay it, and they trickle it down to you. You pay it. The American consumer is who pays the tariffs. Period. And in a similar fashion, other countries with reciprocal tariffs or retaliatory tariffs also will be paying it. However, it's you. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're being directly lied to.
And it's frustrating because
it is very frustrating.
The little guys are the ones that get they're the ones who get ignored in things like this. Because our voices are just not loud enough to shake the world. But I think that, continuing to be vocal, continuing to educate, continuing to stay up to date on, news, putting your biases aside. It doesn't matter, who you voted for. If this directly and negatively impacts you, then it's important. It's important because this is the money that you use to feed your family. This is the money that you use to ensure that your business thrives. And trade is one of the ways that we, I feel like it brings the world together. Trade is one of the things that helps, small communities to be connected. There are so many of you that I feel so close to. I feel like you guys are family. And it doesn't matter that we have borders, and it doesn't matter that you guys are located in other countries.
You're humans.
Right. We're all humans trading interesting things with each other and showing off cool, fun things. And it's just really frustrating that, those of you who are, you're just trying to make a living, you're selling stickers and cute little things, and you're having to deal with these really, really big problems. It's just, I wish that there were more opportunities for small businesses to take a stand. But again, it's all we can do is all we can do. And educating and understanding and raising awareness for what's happening is all we can do as educators. We're not trying to tell you who to vote for, but we're telling you to use your voices.
I want you as adults, as Americans, as foreigners, whoever, to be scientific. I want you to learn how to do research and how to think critically. In the U.S., Harvard Magazine study in 2019 released data that only 40% of Americans could name all three branches of the U.S. government, with 22% of them being unable to name a single one. This means that more than half of American voters likely are uneducated to a point where they don't even understand how the government functions. Please don't watch the news. If you're going to watch the news, I forget what the service name is. Use a service that'll give you both sides of the picture and then give you a synopsis based on what both sides are saying so you get the clearest possible picture. Always go centrist when it comes to your sources. Don't go to Fox News. Don't go to CNN. Don't go to NBC. Don't go to CBS. Don't go to any of these people. I really do hate these political streams. I do. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where this directly affects business, and people can be upset one way or another. But the fact of the matter is, a week ago, Trump himself, not the secretary, not Congress, not the House, signed an executive order, meaning a direct order from him himself to change under. Most of you would have never paid a tariff. Other than on imports over $800, you would have never had to deal with your customers paying tariffs or paying an increased price because your products were under $800.
Yeah.
So under $800, which primarily affects small, low-income consumers, are the ones that are going to be charged. That is a fact. There's no bias in that statement. Anyway, moving on from that, I'm going to go ahead and, ground news. Yeah. So find ground news, find yourself. A lot of times they'll tell you like what a political bias is based on a normal thing. And they'll pull together like a bunch of other news sources and then give you a breakdown using both sides. Please do that. Be scientific in every aspect. Question everything always at all times. Okay. On to questions.
The good thing about having Marc as my husband and for you guys having him here to do things like this is he was an analyst for the military. And I feel like when it comes to researching and presenting. You know, I'm good with the business side, but when it comes to economics, when it comes to our government, I always trust that he is going to give the most in-between answer. And if his view skews a direction, his view is skewing that way because it needs to skew that way.
The moral progressive direction of everyone should be equal is the only answer always. That's not a political side take. That's a fact. If anyone is negatively affected by an opinion, other than, like, obviously the criminally insane, it's bad. So, anyway.
All right.
Moving on to questions. There were quite a few.
We appreciate you guys. You guys have been
We love
really
you guys,
cool.
and I really don't care what people think about me. If you don't like the politics, then this was not a video for you to click on.
You can either get watered down in one direction or watered down in the other direction, or you can get this, just the bullet points.
Here's the rough hard truth. Whether or not you want to talk about it, it's happening.
Right.
So if you are in the UK and don't want to hear about it, or you're in the US and you don't want to hear about it, at the end of the day, you're going to pay an increased price. Might not be on a product that you make because you source all your stuff from the US, but every time you go to the grocery store, every time you buy home goods, every time you buy nails from the hardware store, every time you buy a tool that's all made in China, you're being affected. So you don't have a choice but to educate yourself on this, because when you go to the store and you're like, man, why are Doritos $8?
Right.
Because policy shifted in a way that takes advantage of the US consumer. Anyway. It is capitalism in progress. Capitalism is a broken system, but we're not going to get into that. So if our government uses the tariff money to reduce our own taxes, that would help the economy, but that's not what they're going to do, but it would be technically possible. Yeah, that's the thing, is it's not...
It sounds good.
Well,
in theory.
But it's not true, because if it's the person paying it, more for all of their products and your taxes go down, you're not paying any less. And like I said, the companies aren't going to charge you more just based on the tariff. They're going to also make a product off of that, or they're going to make they're going to make more money off of the tariff itself. So they're going to raise their prices higher than the tariff. So you're in the end likely going to pay more than what you were paying if they decrease the taxes. It's a bait and switch.
Not Doritos.
Boston Tea Party status. I can't advocate for that because they'd be suing everybody now. So, but I'm not going to tell you no. I'm just not going to advocate for it. China isn't 55% right now. No. So it was going to go up to 55%, but they gave them another. I mean, we could be wrong. Again, there's a million different sources and a million different opinions on what's actually happening.
Everywhere we researched yesterday said 30.
Everywhere said 35%. It was going to go up to 55%, but that extended until November 11th, and it's going to go as high as 145%.
Right.
So
there's no definite yet on what China is going to look like, but it is suggested by economists that it will be upwards of 145%. But
now, again, that's probably a mixed bag from Democrats and Republicans. So it's probably going to be more in the ballpark of like 75 to 100%.
I mean, but that's still a lot.
That's still a lot.
That's still a lot.
You guys pay at the doorstep. Most countries pay online before release. It depends on where you order and what service they're using for shipment.
Yeah.
So like FedEx, you can prepay. I know when we had our bookshelf over there, we had to pay an inbound tariff on the bookshelf, and they contacted me after the fact. They sent a letter in the mail with what I owed and who to contact and whatever. UK will be $80 for the first 5 months. Yes, $80. What the hell? Australia 50%? Yeah, again, I don't understand that, because I don't know. I'm not going to get into that.
Question, Mexico.
How come India doesn't sell on Etsy anymore? From what I understand, it was an issue with getting
payments?
Indian payment processors to play ball correctly with Etsy, and they just could not work out the kinks, so they cut it off. So if you're already on Etsy, and this could have changed, again, this is information from like 3 months ago, but they were allowed to sell for a very short period of time. They had a bunch of problems with Indian payment processors, and then they cut them off. If you're already on Etsy as an Indian seller selling out of India, I think you're still okay, but I don't think you're allowed to sign up as a new seller.
If anybody's in India and knows for sure, Like, feel free to comment.
Let me know if that's different. Please don't tell me I use a VPN for another country and it works just fine, because that's not
right. We only stick to
we know that that's a common problem.
Right.
We see it in the Etsy forums, we see it in the Facebook groups. We know that people are doing it. It's fine. We understand.
I
wish you guys could sell, man. Just tell your banks to work their crap out, and you'll be back on. Has there been any different information if POD is going to be impacted by Etsy's API charges? I have not seen so.
So I'm not allowed to say because it was a meeting that I wasn't in, and I don't think that it's anything that they want publicized. But I do know that they're very aware of it. The best thing that you can do, I know what the answer is. I'm not allowed to say anything to you. So message Printify and ask them. They might be being transparent about it, but they might also still be in the works. The issue is what Etsy wants from companies in order to keep that API access is a lot of money, like an uncomfortable amount of money.
Percentages of money, not a flat quantity, at a percentage of income, so fluctuating.
Right, of income, not profit. So that's what has a lot of companies like, ooh.
Yeah, normally you would do that on profit, not on income. That's really dirty.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I can't say because I don't know if I'm allowed to. So maybe just message Printify and ask, because even the news that the last I heard was last month. All I can do is speak on behalf of eRank, and we have been negotiating, but we're going to pay it. We're going to pay it, and we're going to do that because a lot of our tools need it. And we're probably one of the only SEO tools that's going to be able to afford it. So I don't know what the other SEO companies are gonna do. I just don't know. I don't even know how the smaller SEO companies are gonna, there's some of them that are just getting their data. I don't know.
We can't, the contractual obligations, guys.
You guys can see me dancing.
Somebody
around.
said ex-military analysts in secret meetings they can't speak of. We're listening to the Etsy Mossad here. Sorry, guys. We don't have any ins with Etsy. It's with Printify and them. I wish we had an in with Etsy. We're working on that.
Yeah. But the fact that eRank is willing to pay for the API access, what we're hoping is that gives us more of an in with Etsy. If we're like one of the only companies willing to pay what they're asking, maybe we get our own little designated person,
So Kay had said, and this is a big thing. Huge discussions in the art world about whether tariffs apply to arts and antiques. Arts and antiques used to be exempt, but art experts have no idea now. I would venture to say, to be on the safe side of things, that's most likely not going to be the case anymore.
Yeah, because if there's a value associated with the transaction and it's passing through customs, I doubt that customs is going to give a crap what is in the package. It's, this is what you bought and this is how much you paid.
Yeah, they're not. That's the thing, is that tariffs don't necessarily matter based on the they do, but when they're charging these tariffs because they're looking at every single package coming in, there's a very good chance, just to expedite the process, that they're not going to exempt anything, and they're not opening the package. They're going to look and see, it says it's art, it's worth this much money. It's worth enough to be tariffed. Tariff it. I don't know. I would hope that art, like a lot of other countries, would be exempt. Probably not. This doesn't really seem like an administration that cares a whole lot about art.
Miranda, a nice reminder to order in bulk. Yes, for your packaging. Keep in mind that most packaging is going to come from China, and by the time you guys are probably buying all that stuff for the holiday season, the tariffs are going to already be in full swing for China. So if I were you guys, if you can even over order, because you'll use it eventually, but if you need to order online things like your packaging materials, she mentioned Clear Bags, which is a great website for packaging materials. I would order that stuff as soon as humanly possible, before that potential of the potentially 145% tariff.
So that's a good point. what Fatty Pancake was talking about with art. And another good reason why they probably won't exempt it is because you might not have even known this, but it is like one of the biggest money laundering schemes.
Oh, yeah.
That's primarily like when you see people, like rich people, buy like, oh, they bought this painting for $145 million. That painting was not worth $145 million. It's because it's art, it's tax-free, it's tariff-free. They brought it into the country to immediately put it into a vault that nobody will ever see it again. And when they need to get rid of it, they'll sell it to another rich person in order to make that money immediately back. It's legal money laundering. It's a very common thing. There's whole like documentaries on the art community and how bullcrap it is.
Isn't that the same, like, excuse my ignorance, isn't that the same concept as like pimps wearing like the big chains and stuff, like spending all the money on the big gold chains because that can't be like taken, like they put their money into it and then they know that there's resale value?
I have no idea. I didn't know you were such a pimp expert. Give me your pimp's number.
I'm from Springfield,
gotcha.
Ohio. You know, they're eating the cats and dogs. That's where I'm from. That's where I was raised.
It's literally 20 minutes up the street.
They're not eating the cats and dogs, just so everybody's clear.
Yeah, that never happened. Anyway.
Poor Springfield. They're always the brunt of the joke.
As a Canadian seller, I wonder if there'll be easy options on Printify to pick only products produced in the U.S. so we can make sure customers... A lot of times it's just automatic. So it's the nearest shipping center to your customer that has the product that's being purchased. So
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, Printify. I mean, you can easily see it when you're selecting. You can see, you know, there's little flags on the product pages and you can see where it's shipping. And obviously, if there's more than one, if you've got one that shows that it can ship from like the U.S. and the U.K. or whatever, they're going to route it from the closest possible one. So if you've got a UK customer, even if you're in the US and there is a print facility in the UK, then they're just going to route that order to the, you know, UK print facility, and then you would be fine because it's not crossing any borders. You know what I mean? Okay. How do you guys like the new stuff? I put this stuff up because I recorded something for E-Rank, but I kind of like it back there. I don't know. I like the little touch of greenery. You can't really see what this one is. Does it look like vines? I always worry that it looks like unkept, like dust bunnies in the corners or something.
All of our business moved over to China in the 90s. I wonder if there's a way to move all manufacturing back without something like tariffs.
No.
That would require, and you can look into like the history of Detroit for this, that would require the rich, let's be real, mostly right-leaning business owners to bring their companies back to the United States, assuming they even hold enough weight in the company to still do that.
And pay the employees more.
And pay the employees more. And also import all of the supplies like they used to do that, which means they would also be paying a tariff. So they would be making less money, paying more money. It's never going to happen.
No.
They can say whatever they want about bringing it here. Even the Ohio, I believe the Ohio Intel chip factory was already canceled. So like it's not going to happen.
Right. It's cheap labor. You know, you outsource to a different country. Right. It's cheaper labor. That's why they put companies, you know, it's.
I was going to ask about antiques too. I saw antique jewelry, which has managed to avoid the hefty EU regulations, but I haven't seen any mention of any sort of exemption. So like Kay had said, and art over $800, I believe she said, I don't know if it's true, I haven't fact checked it, is still considered tariff free. So like expensive art. I don't believe antiques and antique jewelry are going to fall into that unless it's antique art specifically. I don't think that's. Yeah. And like Fatty Pancake said, that would be cost prohibitive. They're not going to do that. Companies are not going to take a loss. That's why the price of your Doritos is going up, because they're not going to absorb the cost of the extra metal that goes into the bags anyway. Royal Mail said this could take 6 months. I'm anticipating for it to take a while to get it back up and running for the prepay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Most of us are just turning off U.S. shipping, at least temporarily. I'm not really surprised, to be honest with you. It's a huge risk. It's unfortunate. It's not Etsy's fault, so don't blame it on Etsy.
And it's not our fault either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that I think that everybody should look at this as a very sad situation,
Yeah.
especially if you've had to cut off your shipping to the US right before the holidays. It's very
Will
frustrating.
Etsy be showing how much the customer will pay and cut for customs on the listing? I
Probably
don't
not.
know, but I hope so because it's not that difficult to do. However, again, it's something that changes on a daily basis. So the Etsy having to go in and adjust those for I don't see
Plus,
that
if
being
they were
realistic.
wrong and they messed up, and then it gets legal.
I hope at the very least they put something on there like you will pay a due. I hope that
Right.
is on there.
Informing, I just hope that during the holiday season that they do something, even if it's just some little indicator on a
Yeah,
listing.
I'm not shipping to the U.S. for 6 months until everything is calculated ad valorem. Yeah, because a lot of products that are worth barely anything are going to be paying an $80 customs fee, regardless of how
That's insane.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's insane.
How could you guys do this to us, JK? I don't know.
It's all our fault.
Mhm.
Sorry, guys.
We already answered that.
You
Maybe
mess
come
with
up
my.
with a tariff message template. Man, that's a lot of work that would require us changing and pushing it out every time. That's probably not going to happen, guys. Sorry.
You mess with my Doritos. You mess with my life.
They've already messed with your Doritos. The price of Doritos the price of pretty much all goods has already gone up. It's already being affected.
I'm so glad I'm a digital seller. Yeah, that somebody did make a good point though, that what are digital seller or what are people buying digital things for? A lot of the times, they're using them to print on, to make products with, or even things for themselves, and their supplies are coming from, if you're doing like CNC machine or
Yep.
there might be a slight trickle down impact on some digital industries, even if it has nothing to do with, the tariff charges within your business. How the customer then uses that digital product could potentially have a slight impact.
And once prices go up, they won't come back down, even though tariffs change. Yep,
We
that's
saw that with COVID.
That's what happened with COVID. All the companies price gouged, and then as soon as COVID was over, and everybody was supposed to lower their prices back down to accommodate the ability to transition their products from place to place, they never went back down. They actually went up, and now they've gone up again. So
I mean, COVID isn't over. Let's not.
it's never going to be over the same way the flu is never going to be
right.
over.
COVID didn't go.
It's an unfortunate
the
part
pandemic,
of life.
we'll
Yeah,
say.
but at least we all have microchips, right?
Right, we got we've been microchipped, just like the dog. You can scan me and find my address, and that way, if I get lost, you can return me home.
I'm a 30K a year employee working at McDonald's. Why they put microchips in me to track me because I'm important. And lots of prices. Yeah. I'm preparing an order to the U.S. If I send one tomorrow, is it going to be affected by the tariffs? I don't know. I don't know when the UK does. The UK already have tariffs, guys? I don't know what.
so.
I don't know. I believe they already have their
think that-
30-something%. I don't know.
I think they already do. I think that you.
Yeah, the August 27th or 29th, whichever one it was, that timeline is for the de minimis exemption to be removed. If there was already a tariff, then a tariff is a tariff.
Right.
Affected.
But the de minimis should be in effect until the 29th, so they're good until then, right? Are they good as long as the purchase is under $800? Are they good until August 29th? Is that?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So as long as the packet.
Unfortunately, so everyone else in the UK will have to pay more, but US is a larger percentage for me, so I don't have much left, but I have reduced the other countries free to try to help.
Because I believe that it would be. I don't know.
Can you clarify information flying around about some massive flat fee you may get charged if you lie about the country your product origin is? The flat fee as of right now, I think you're referring to is they're not charging based on the percentage of the product. They're just charging a flat fee, and it goes by how much the product is worth. As of right now, most people pay an $80 fee.
Yeah, it's
$80 flat fee.
It's 80 to what?
200 is the highest.
$80 to $200. So
I think
somewhere.
I'm not going to try to spitball what the numbers are. What about an order on an Etsy shop that says they're in the USA and then you get tracking and it's coming from China? It'll pay a tariff.
Yeah.
Because if it crosses the border, you're going to pay a tariff. If I place an order at an Etsy shop in the US and it comes from China, I report that shop. So
Right, if they're claiming, it's different if it's a POD company, but if it's like we're buying like a furniture item and we think
like that, our cat tree back there that
yeah.
ended up coming from a warehouse in California that is a major warehouse
drop shipper.
Yeah, it's a drop shipper.
Like we understand like POD companies and things like that, it's a little bit different, especially when you're buying like art products. But when it's something advertised as being handmade and, made in the USA, and then you buy it and then it comes from China.
One of the reasons for tariffs was to encourage companies to come back to the US. Well, that's never going to happen, and that was a bold-faced lie. You were lied to. That's
yeah, we kind of explained why, though.
Literally name a single company other than like 5 Hour Energy that's willing to take a significant loss in profit to move their business here. Well, okay, well, they were already here. I meant to move back to the United States from elsewhere.
Did 5 Hour Energy move?
No.
Oh, okay.
My point is their CEO is actually a good person.
He's rad. The 5 Hour
If you're a billionaire,
guy,
there's a good chance you're not a good person. That's just an unfortunate fact of life. You can't get $1 billion by not stepping on toes. Anyway, sadly, it would take years. Yeah, I gotta head out. They bill you.
We talk about that 5 Hour Energy guy quite a bit. You guys should go like learn his story. He is the coolest guy. He like makes like, is it like a STEM playground?
Yeah, it's an engineer. And now this was old news, so I don't know if it's still a thing.
There might be some controversy.
Yeah, there might be some controversy that we're not aware
He's
of.
in the Epstein files.
Yeah, right. Probably. Like every other billionaire.
We don't know. We don't know. We have not watched recent videos on him, but last we saw, he had this cool engineering playground, and he put all this. He like drove like a little old
He lives in like a normal house and drives a normal car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Deb said, "Yep, already paying tariffs on the coffee. Yep, my coffee went up too." Some POD companies don't want to sync with Etsy. We need to manually move ordering company we use to avoid U.S. tariffs. You're American, buy American. That used to mean something, but American production standards have gone down so far that ordering from China is just as high quality half the time anymore.
Yeah, it really depends on the brand and the product.
And ordering American is almost impossible for like 90% of things, especially considering even with that, most of those companies get their supplies from tariff countries, so you're still affected.
Right.
Keep more bubble mailers soon.
Stock up on them bubble mailers. Art over $800 is currently exempt, as
I
are
already read
antiques.
that.
Oh, okay. All right. If you guys are just tuning in, we just had like a small surge of viewers. Definitely rewatch the replay.
We just lost 20.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you missed the beginning when we actually had slides and presentations, definitely rewatch. Because now we're just seeing if there's any.
Does this affect digital UK to USA? No, you missed the beginning of it. If you haven't seen the beginning of the presentation, make sure you go back and watch that because we went over most of that stuff.
Yeah, digital isn't crossing borders. It's if you have a package that is passing a border from one country, any country into the US, if it, has to pass through a customs facility, then. And what about
Yeah, that's another good point. Talking about moving companies back to the United States, the fact that when they move all of their equipment back here, they're going to pay a tariff on every single piece of equipment that comes back.
Oh, and some of that's like multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment.
Yeah, that's like if you go to, let's say you go to literally any country in Europe and you buy like $300 worth of stuff while you're in Europe and you come back, you will pay a tariff when you get back on the things you purchased while you were there.
So
unless it's under $200.
Was it China or Japan that our car parts were shipped to?
Japan.
Japan. So Mark and I used to work for a Honda company, and I made manifold covers. They came straight out of die cast, and they came to us, and I was in deburr, so I deburred the manifold covers and sanded down all the little bumps and things. It's so funny because even if we had to have a quota each day of, how many pieces, how many manifold covers went out. And it was like 2,000, on a shift. We had to meet that quota. And it didn't matter. Even our team leader said it doesn't matter if you know that this is not a piece that's going to pass a quality inspection. Do your part, reach our quota. That's the end of it. Because what happened was they would take those completed pieces and ship them all over to Japan. And then Japan would inspect them. And then if there were ones that didn't pass inspection, which was a large percentage, they would ship them right back to us, and they would go back to die cast and get melted down and make new manifold covers, and they would come back to me and I would deburr them again. And this was just a continuous process. This is going, I mean, I'm thinking about the tariffs and stuff and how much that's going to impact like car prices and stuff. If that's
a lot.
Just the back and forth of the parts.
Considering the majority of car parts are made in China.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if it goes up 145%, you'll be paying more than double for most cars.
I wasn't even thinking about cars.
And everything houses are made with, and every piece of machinery that makes houses, and everything is going to go up. That's why I keep telling people, like, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you sit on, when you're lied to, you should be like, oh, I'm lied to. This person isn't trustworthy. Because they are still blatantly to your face saying that the companies in foreign countries are going to pay the tariffs. It's not how that works.
Yeah, cars. I mean, you know, a lot of people might say buy U.S. cars, but those car parts are still inspected and quality checked in other countries. They're still, I mean, there are a lot of parts in a car. Like, you know what I mean? Not even U.S. cars, not everything is coming from the U.S. I doubt that there's a single car company. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt that there's a single car company that, you know, every single part within that vehicle is a U.S. product. So it just, man, that's...
Yeah, we're just reiterating the same points over
that's
and over
worrisome.
and over again. I don't want people to think that we're trying to attack a political spectrum. We call it like it is. And during the last administration or 2 or 3 administrations ago, we would have told you what we didn't like about them too. Again, we're centrist. We don't align with far right or far left. There are a lot of studies showing why people on the far right and far left think the way that they do and why they always default to a particular mindset. You should go read those studies. They're pretty interesting. What if we make all of our large items digital and then send a very large receipt? Physically mailing a receipt? I wouldn't do that. That's weird.
I think that she's like saying like make all of our items digital and then the receipt, like any piece of mail. Yeah,
you'll pay a tariff. Yep.
It's any piece of mail.
Yes. Fabrics, are you affected with that? If anything is in a supply chain that could the dye that the fabrics are made with, the fabric itself, the packaging that the fabric is packaged in. If it is any point subject to a tariff, the price, any piece of it in any supply chain, it's going to go up, which is why like 99.9% of products are going to be affected by it because most things are sourced elsewhere.
Yeah, you gotta break down every product by not just what it is, but the sum of its parts. You know, you might have if you look at your cell phone, like, okay, you know,
I know.
It's like, where did this little piece of glass come from? Where did this little piece of glass come from? Where did this little light come from? Where did this glittery case come from?
Oh yeah, cell phones are going to be hit. Tech is going to get hit the biggest with chips coming from Taiwan.
Right.
Yeah. They're going to get hit hard.
Every single little component, like at least one of these components, well, you know, with a phone, most of these components, but, you know, no matter what the product is, you know, it could be just the dye. What about the dye that made this cup black? You know, you can't just look at the item itself. You have to think of everything that went into creating that item.
We're heading towards Cyberpunk 2077 economy, but no cool cyberware. That's not necessarily true either. That's already in there. Have you seen the video of the girl with the Bluetooth hand? Oh, she can take her hand off and walk it across the table. We're already there, dog.
That was so cool. She can think. She can think about her hand moving across the table.
What if I told you there's not a lot to go into this subject left to even talk about? What if I told you that battery technology is the only thing holding us back from having more powerful cybernetics? Just batteries.
Yep.
That's it. We can already digitally affect the brain. We can digitally affect the body. Somebody already had a successful heart transplant of a fully motorized heart, nothing real in it. It was he had no pulse because it was literally just a cyclical pump. Yeah, we're already headed that way.
That's so rad.
If you guys are interested in how Cyberpunk started, you should read into that because mass surveillance, like submitting your face to use a website and corporate companies buying politicians is how that started. You guys should really read into the lore. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting.
All the sci-fi nerds are just like, we knew this was coming.
We knew it was coming.
We knew it.
Exactly.
Oh.
Anyway. What if you order on an Etsy shop that says they're in the we already read that.
We're kind of at the end of questions. There hasn't been anything. I've been keeping track of.
I'm trying to go through because there's a lot.
Arizona tea. Well, if you guys have any other
non-tariff questions,
feel free to get some other questions in. We're here for a few more minutes. Hang out, you know. I sell hand-drawn digital wall art, and the customer gets a PDF file with a link to a Google Drive. Is it okay to have links in my website with POD with the same design on that PDF? Yeah. With POD with the same designs on that PDF. Yeah.
In India, only pharmaceutical products, crude oil, natural gas, and critical minerals are exempt from U.S. tariffs. Last I read, though, pharmaceuticals are going to also be getting a tariff.
Medication costs.
Yep.
Oh.
It'd be crazy if medication costs went up right after Medicaid got shut, right?
Oh, medication costs.
Oh, did they ever clarify the EU rules for digital items that representative in the EU? And the representative in the EU?
Etsy hasn't. That news is kind of going by the wayside, isn't it? I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not in the mindset to deep dive in my head to try to think if I heard anything. Just because my brain is on this track right now.
This is also depressing. Remember, guys, this is why we are advocates, regardless of what side you're on. Again, just to reiterate, please, with everything, question everything always. If things sound too good to be true, Occam's razor, bro. The most simplest answer is usually the correct answer, and that comes from both sides. There is no such thing as a wasted vote. Even if you're voting for a third-party candidate, there's no such thing. Vote with an overall perspective in mind, not a singular interest, like tariffs or border stuff or whatever you're passionate about. Don't vote with a single interest in mind. Vote with an overall perspective of the candidates that you're voting for. Trying not to get into this stuff, please just do your research. Please do your research. Educate yourself.
Someone asked if I could talk about the new ads. Not yet, because I haven't had time to even begin looking over it. A lot of people have asked me to talk about it because I didn't talk about it during the Etsy updates video that I published on Tuesday. Definitely check that out, though. If you haven't seen it yet, I talk about all the different tests that Etsy's running, but that was just something that had slipped my radar, and I haven't really had a time to deep dive yet. And then Michael had asked about the Alpha Holiday Boot Camp. News is the same. I've been talking about it now for a couple weeks. Enrollment for this year's Alpha Holiday Boot Camp will begin on September 4th. Yeah, September 4th. On September 4th, and you're in Handmade Alpha Academy, so you get it for free. But for those who aren't in Handmade Alpha Academy, September 4th, you'll pay $60. That's our early bird price. We discount it steeply on that single day only. So if you're on my email list, if you follow me on social media, just make sure that you're keeping an eye out for it. Friday the 5th, Saturday the 6th, the price will be general admission. That's $100. And then on September 7th, which is the final day that you can enroll, it's $120 because all of the extra $20 per entry we donate to St. Jude, and that's when we kick off our St. Jude charity. The boot camp itself, this is for HAA and, the general public. It will kick off on Monday, September 8th. All of the sessions are pre-recorded, so if you can't tune in, right away, that's fine. You'll get access. We'll email you midnight every night, letting you know that your session for the day is open. I will still be doing day one the same as all the previous ones with the Canva templates and the marketing calendar and all that, because you guys said that you wanted that. And for those who have never done an Alpha Holiday Boot Camp, just know that you get a bunch of really good stuff for marketing on Monday. But then the rest of the week, we're going to be focusing more on eRank and data and Google Analytics and making sure that you're understanding keyword performance, what's working, what's not working, and how to fix it. So this is going to be our first ever eRank like SEO data themed boot camp. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to be speaking. Pam Duthie's going to be speaking. Brian over at eRank is going to be speaking. Anthony at eRank is going to be speaking. And that will run from the 8th through the 14th, with the 14th being a live stream. But you guys will get enrollment information for that a little later. I'm still like scrambling to get all that together.
I sell hand-drawn digital wall art, and the customer gets a PDF link with a Google Drive.
I answered that.
Oh, did you?
Already.
My bad. Been reading through all the comments while you've been talking.
No, you're good.
One bright side to the tariffs, I can now say that building my yarn stash will really save me money.
It will.
Yep.
Build it now.
How would you advise raising prices for the tariffs? I don't know if anyone asked. Just the only question I can think of.
Pull the Band-Aid off now. Just do it. I would do it as soon as possible, and I wouldn't, you don't need to apologize for it. You don't need to, it has to happen, unfortunately. So I would just do it now. Do your best with the information that we currently have. Obviously,
realistically, if you're not the person paying the tariff, there really isn't an effect on most people on prices. It's just if it affects you.
Right.
Price-wise. Like, I believe you're in Italy, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think so.
Sajoli?
I don't think so.
No?
No. I thought she was in the U.S.
Maybe you are. Anyway, your customer is the one paying the tariff. So if you're...
I mean, unless you want to pay the tariff.
Well, see, the only time you need to raise your prices is if your supply chain is affected by it. So if you're
in the U.S., yeah.
Take into account what you normally spend. Watch how much you normally spend. Watch it go up. And increase your prices percentage-wise to accommodate that. Direct one-to-one. That's pretty much it. It's not as complicated as it sounds. I know it sounds like it is, but it's not.
We'll get to your boot camp questions here in just a minute. We're just trying to keep everything chronological.
Yeah. So I'm not driving traffic from Etsy PDF question?
So
the one about the PDF?
If it's your product that they're receiving, Etsy can't say what your PDF is and what the PDF says. So as long as the PDF, if they purchased it on Etsy, am I understanding this correctly? They're purchasing a digital product from your shop, from Etsy, and then that digital product has your website listed. Is that what I'm hearing? You're not redirecting the purchase because the purchase has already happened. Etsy can't regulate what the purchase is, like what the actual... You know what I mean? Like that is your product. Just like if you were shipping a package and you put your business card in the box and your business card had your website instead of your Etsy shop, Etsy can't control that. So I'm assuming that's what you're asking.
Off topic, any chance you'll do an in-depth Pinterest course?
Nope. I'm not good at Pinterest. However, we do have our lovely Michelle Badger who works for me. She is developing something for Pinterest, so that's going to be really fun. She's been deep diving into Pinterest for the last few months, and she's going to be making something really cool. So something more on that later.
Michelle asked if anybody else is having trouble with the Etsy seller app. I don't know.
The Etsy ads. I'm not talking about that until I know more about it. I'm not talking about the Etsy ads until I myself understand it. And I just, with everything going on, I just haven't had time to deep dive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stay in the center, think for yourself. Don't get caught up in intoxication of tribalist group thinking and fealty. If you need multiple people screaming the same thing for a point to be true, then the point is false. At least for those at the top. That doesn't necessarily apply to the downtrodden. If I'm in Canada and ship via Canada Post to the USPS, that will be collecting the tariffs when it's delivered until Canada Post can get their system set up and allow payment to the tariffs up front. I believe so, yes.
Did the photo size change again? So Etsy's, did you watch my video Tuesday? I talk about this. Etsy's testing rectangular images. I actually just talked to Christina Nicole this morning about it. We suspect because they haven't made any official announcements yet, we think that because it's been a few weeks that it might be a permanent change, but until Etsy announces something official, they do this every year. They play with photo sizes. And it's been 2 years since they switched to square. We don't know yet. I wouldn't rush to change everything, but I would start thinking about, what you're going to do in the event that you have to update everything. But until Etsy makes an official announcement, I always advise sellers not to rush and change everything because there's a chance that their testing will show that it wasn't a helpful test. You know what I mean?
Jennifer Moss said if you uninstall and reinstall the app, it'll work again. That's, 9 times out of 10, that's the fix. If clearing the cache and whatnot doesn't fix the app, usually uninstalling, reinstalling is the first place to go to. It sucks having to relog in, but it's not that big of a deal. So boot camp going to be like last year's?
Depends on what you mean. Content's not going to be the same. Day one's going to be pretty similar. Because,
we always do new videos.
Yeah, day one is going to be pretty similar because, you're getting an updated marketing calendar, but you're still getting all the templates and stuff. But the rest of the boot camp is going to be completely new material. The boot camp, while the day one foundational stuff is always the same because you guys, I feel like you would be heartbroken if you didn't get your Trello calendar and all of your goodies. We try to update the rest of, it's still updated. Like the day one is still like up to date. I record new stuff, but the rest of the boot camp is going to be completely different this year.
There's a form that Canadians can fill out to include with their package that shows your product was made in Canada, US, or Mexico, and it will exempt you. You need to keep proof of it for 5 years. I don't know anything about that, but it seems like something to research into. Are the tariffs in addition to de minimis? If you would have caught the beginning of the stream, de minimis is going away on the 29th of this month. So
yes,
it's irrelevant now. So everything in the boot camp is pre-recorded except for the last day. Yes.
Yes, and the last day does get recorded.
Yes,
so
it does.
You can go. So if you're on vacation that week, you're good.
It's more just fun for you to be able to follow along if you want to, but it's not necessarily a mandatory. Will you? I hate YouTube, dude.
Is the chat just jumping around?
Well, no, it's not. There we go. It wasn't letting me scroll within the box. MacBook problems. Okay, need to go find where I was because it unfreaking. There it goes again. There we go. Seeing on the U.S. Customs website, apparently antiques are exempt from tariffs on the basis of Chapter 9706 and the harmonized tariff schedule, providing there is proof of the goods' age, like the year of manufacture. That's one of those things that I'd say good luck. If it says that that's the case, the same with art, I hope that that is enforced properly, but I wouldn't bet my money on it.
This is going to be such a scramble for the customs offices to be able to appropriately sort things, especially.
Right. I would imagine that's probably going to have them assuming that they're going to have to open those packages and verify that they are what they say they are, and that just adds a layer of complexity. Not to mention, again, not to slam anything on the current government, but stuff's just kind of getting turned away at the border too. I know this because we had this shirt, actually, and a bunch of our kids' school clothes get turned away at the border with
no reason,
with no justification. And the company actually sent us an email saying that it is a very frequent thing that customs is just like turning stuff around and sending it back. I don't know how big of a problem it actually is, but it was big enough that they sent out a mass email to all of their customers to let them know, and directly emailed me to let me know that they're going to attempt to send it back one more time and then that they would refund me after that. So customs is kind of, here's the thing. All of this with the policy is trickled down. Everybody's going with the flow as much as they possibly can. And customs in the United States is already notoriously terrible at their jobs. And I know this because we order a lot of tech and most of it comes from out of the country. They're bad. They suck at their job. So I don't expect this to be very smooth. It is what it is, but they've had problems even before all this. Won't hold you to this, but in your opinion, the art print items, even if they have the correct HTSUS number on the package, they will likely still end up having a tariff. I can't probably, but I can't positively say it. And this is where it also gets complicated because you're talking about an art print, not an original art piece. It's not the actual thing that you painted. It is a print of a thing that you made. So
Yeah,
does
that's
that
very different.
does that qualify as art, or does that qualify as a picture of art? I don't know. I can't answer that. I wish I could answer that question for you, but I can't. One of my customers from Canada bought 2 harnesses for $85 and had to pay $58 to get it from customs. This was crazy to hear. In Canada? Is it a retaliatory tariff thing? When you offer a personalized digital download, is it better to offer it as made to order or a regular one and then send the product via Etsy chat? Are there pros and cons to each method?
I mean, I don't see what the issue would be either way. This might be a question for digital sellers just to see if there's anything. I personally cannot think of any red flags. I don't see there being any pros or cons to doing it either way, but maybe post in the Handmade Alpha Facebook community just to see if any, digital sellers can poke holes in the idea, but I personally am not sure.
Can you just change the thumbnail and leave the rest square?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, focus on thumbnails first and foremost.
Always. The thing your customer sees is the one that should be the best.
Right, in search.
Cost of enforcement will exceed the tariff earnings. I don't know if that's true because most of it's probably just digital. They scan it, type in a number, and then on it goes. So I don't know if that's necessarily true. It'll definitely increase, but I don't know if it'll balance it out either way. What happens if a customer buys 2 of a digital product and then rebuy it later? Having nice friends and family buying products to get me into the algorithm for the first 20 sales. You can't do that. First of all,
that's called shilling.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, unless they're actually wanting to buy those, but telling friends and family to buy is.
It's shilling. It's fixing numbers. It's a crime.
Yeah, you can't. You're not getting you into the algorithm, and you don't need there's no first 20 sales. That's not there. It's about creating products that customers want to buy and maintaining an algorithmic position through continued engagement from an organic audience. So while you might get, some listing quality score boosts from those initial sales, if that level of engagement does not maintain, you're just going to fall right back down in search. So it's definitely not a good practice. It's something that can get you in trouble if Etsy were to catch on, unless they're buying it because they want to, because it's something that they want. If you've got a family member who wants to buy, a necklace, you could always say, hey, buy it from my Etsy shop and I'll just give it to you when I see you next. It actually will help me more if you buy it on Etsy because you can leave a review. That's a little different.
So we're getting into the weeds here. I sell vintage jeans made in the U.S. and shipped from France. Well, my customers have to pay tariffs.
If they're shipped from France,
dude,
if they're shipped from
no,
France,
because it's based on the country of origin. So, like, if you sell from France but your products are made in China, then you would pay the China tariff, not the France tariff. So, we're in the thickets here. I don't know.
It said regardless of origin, though. The tariff thing.
Did it?
Yeah, it said
okay,
regardless.
Somebody else
origin.
earlier in the chat said that it was based on the country of origin.
No, it said regardless of origin.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm going to assume that while if it's not supposed to be charged a tariff, it's probably gonna anyway, and it's gonna be up to you to justify why not.
If it crosses a border, I think that if it crosses a border.
What are your thoughts on adding variations to bestsellers? I know the title and tags are best left untouched.
Variant shouldn't impact it. Variant should be fine, because you're not touching any of the algorithmic factors that could impact ranking. So there shouldn't be any issue with that.
Okay, said country of origin. So that's what I thought. The form Canadians fill out is the CUSMA, formerly the NAFTA compliant application. It will ask for HS codes and descriptions. This form has always existed, but will now apply to under 802. Cool. Even if shilling were allowable, it won't actually help you with the algorithm. We want the right customers buying your products to teach Etsy who your ideal customer is. Yep. My shop just got shut down with a perma suspension with no explanation, no email, no reason as to why. My customers are getting refunded without me being able to message them, and I'm locked out. Why?
Wish I could tell you.
Wish I could tell you.
Etsy does it occasionally. First and foremost, you need to make sure. I mean,
What did you sell?
right. There are a lot of reasons that shops get suspended, and it does mistakenly happen, but Etsy has been getting better about their automatic flagging.
A lot better.
A lot better. However, it does still happen. There's a chance that you might have mistakenly violated a policy without understanding, their full policies. If you're utilizing a VPN, that can cause issues. If you have allowed anyone else to log in your shop other than you.
Yeah, I tell you,
that can cause issues.
We did a thing. How long ago has it been where we had all those people?
A year ago. Not last April, but the April before.
Okay. Where we had people who had been shut down as they suspected wrongly.
400 people.
And I'll tell you that a lot of people, while denying that they did anything wrong, they accidentally told on themselves by giving us their shop names and stuff, because an overwhelming majority of them did something wrong. And not only did an overwhelming majority of them do something wrong, it was something blatantly wrong, like selling from a fake location, or selling a product that's not allowed on Etsy, drop shipping, selling from a country that's not allowed to sell on Etsy. Like, there were so many of them that were so blatantly breaking the rules. But a lot of them were breaking rules they didn't know they were breaking. They said they sell 3D printed items, but it was all hand painted, and some of my stuff was fully modeled by myself. See, here's the thing.
Is there copyright infringement?
Was there anything copyright? And were you selling any 3D printed items that were not modeled by yourself, that were not modified in any way? Because that is now officially against Etsy's policies. You have to be making or modifying to a significant degree. You can't just buy something on one of the Forge websites, print it, and sell it on Etsy anymore. I know there's a lot of products that still do that, and it'll take some time. But like No Ordinary Leaf said somebody probably reported you for copyright. If you're downloading anything from a Forge, there's a very good chance that even though it was for public use, even if it says it's for public use, that still technically violates Etsy's policies. It has to either be heavily modified by you, and your painting technically is a form of that, but the actual model itself needs to be modified by you to fit within Etsy's policies.
All right. I think that we are good to go ahead.
Yeah, and don't use I mean, did you use a VPN?
Yeah. It's little things.
There's so many things. It could be any number of things. Make sure that if you know that you were in the right, make sure that you're attempting to appeal it.
I have to potty so bad that I can't even handle it anymore.
I know. Sorry this had to be such a tense and depressing stream. Things aren't all bad. The world of Etsy actually is performing quite well, and thankfully everyone is subject to the same policy changes that you are, so everyone still has an even playing field. Things aren't changing in that regard. We'll have a new video on Tuesday and a hopefully much less depressing live stream next week. We love you guys. She can't hold it anymore, so we're going to go. Bye, guys.